a year before the global outbreak, an investigation has found. The National Institutes of Health, under Dr. Fauci's leadership, infected 12 Egyptian fruit bats. Oh, Egyptian bats, huh? With a SARS-like virus called WIV1. That's Wuhan Institute of Virology 1. That's what that stands for. In Montana in 2018, just 15 minutes away from the Maryland presidential retreat in Camp David. Again, that line doesn't make any sense. Anyway, the Wuhan Institute of Virology 1 coronavirus was shipped from the Wuhan lab, the FBI believes, caused the COVID pandemic and was tested on bats acquired from a roadside Maryland zoo. That's what they must mean about Camp David, because that's in Maryland. But the research is more evidence of the ties between the U.S. government and the Wuhan lab, as well as the funding of dangerous virus research across the globe. So, what does this mean? Well, what it means is that they created COVID. And they created COVID in a lab. They did it with a doctor named Xi Zhenli, who is a coronavirus expert. Xi Zhenli is a Chinese virologist who specializes in going up and harvesting bats from their natural environments in the easternmost rural parts of China. Bats are the natural repositories of coronavirus in nature. Coronaviruses do exist naturally in nature, but they are harmless to you. Why? Well, one, because the repositories of coronavirus in nature exist highly, do not interact with human beings often at all. Two, because those coronaviruses, they do not make the bats sick, and we're not sure why, but they also do not have a very specific type of protein that would be required, this is called a spike protein, to enter the human cell and infect us. This type of protein had to be added. It had to be gene therapy into the coronavirus. So you isolate the bat coronavirus, you bring the bats in, you isolate the bat coronavirus, and then you add a human spike protein, and then that coronavirus has, theoretically, the capacity to infect human beings. That is the only way, biological fact, the only way that the pandemic could have period. And the laboratory of our own time would say that Dr. Fauci funded research to do this exact thing with coronaviruses. He paid millions of dollars to the Wuhan Institute of Virology to do this research. We know the doctors. They also know what they were doing. All this information is public. More importantly, and this is really demonstrable, the Chinese themselves, before this became a weaponized political nuclear football, the Chinese themselves did the research and sent investigators to this lab to go and interview the lab techs. Before this was scrubbed entirely from the internet. Incredible documents that have been preserved. The Chinese scientists that were sent there said, whoa, they were doing shoddy experimentation on very dangerous stuff, adding spike proteins to lab particles, and they got affected by their own work. They got affected by their own work. They were sloppy. This lab should be shut down. They were doing stuff that could be considered illegal. This was funded by America. And this needs to be all shut down. And what happened as soon as the scientists issued that report, which you can still find today, hey Alex, maybe there's something you can do on it, but worthwhile. Still fine today. The Chinese government swooped in and took over the lab entirely. Scrubbed all evidence. As soon as the report was dropped, Chinese swooped in, locked it down. The military now runs the Wuhan lab. The virology lab in Wuhan. It's the only way that the pandemic could have started. They created a mutant molecule. And then, of course, our media goes into pure hysterics, says that the air you breathe is too dangerous. And then they take that government-created weaponized molecule, and they say, you need to have mail-in voting. Because breathing air is now deadly. We need to have unaccountable, unlimited mail-in balloting forever. Because the world's too dangerous. And you get a first story. Democrats, punching and throwing against each other. They're unlimited, unaccountable. Solid. See how the circle of life works? See how the system works? Track tough. Yeah. I can't tell you that paper is not the result of being tracked because they're all on big devices. But I can tell you that Patriot Mobile as a company is a free speech first company run by Christians with excellent morals that do not fund the type of leftist programming that is destroying our nation. Many of the big cell phone companies will do that. Patriot Mobile will stop. That might be this year we are showing there's power computers. But Patriot Mobile, that's not Patriots. If reacting to things with many enjoyment making the switch today. As Patriot Mobile is Patriot Mobile around the globe, all around the world actually. It's great. We're hoping great. The Trinity nuclear site. That's not going to be releasing on Saturday. Very excited about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, what's next? Well, what's next is we're going to continue to ask questions. We're going to continue to put our shoulders to the wheel for issues like and for issues like divide and crime family. Things you're not supposed to talk about. Things you're not allowed to talk about. Things that make you lose opportunities or advertisers or whatever if you ask these questions. But lucky for us, we got you. And so that's what we have you. Our guilty is to the audience and to truth. And to God. We will have to answer you ultimately. Yes. Stay centered with your first psalms. Cast your cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken. We thank you for supporting us on board. You're the only people that has the brass to ask these questions. We've asked them before. I think that's really good. Like it's time, it's our obligation to bring to the party like priorities of us and our election systems are so broken. And the erosion of trust in society being reduced down to a zero trust society. We need real fighters. We need real. We have all the faith in the world that God can save this place. Probably at this point, only a miracle. So we keep praying, keep marching forward, because our God is an awesome God. We're dead. Thanks for watching. See you. Johnson.com/brigade. If you wish to join the brigade or something brigade in the Salty Army, you can support us in our independent journalism so we can cover topics and stories like this. Starting with our producers this morning, we ought to get a news clip, right? Nobody had any news clips about this election fraud that's taking place in Connecticut, New Jersey, with stacked clips right from the show. Nobody's covering it. That's we're the only people covering it. We're going to like this. We're the fastest growing independent news show, and we thank you for us being able to remain independent. Please go to the Panic Brigade. Support us $5 long a month. And of course, when you support us, we appreciate it. It's the greatest keychain made out of all American butter. Expect that right to ship directly to you. We get mail in that way. Exactly. Oh, there was a pandemic. And we're almost in the spirit of it. And that pandemic happened totally randomly in a wet market, right? A bunch of Chinese people eating bats. So liars. Liars created this bombshell report. Anthony Fauci run loud. Montana experimented with coronavirus strains before the outbreak, a year before COVID began. My God. Ladies and gentlemen, was free. U.S. taxpayer money was used to experiment with coronavirus from a Chinese lab thought to be the source of the COVID pandemic. More than a year before the global outbreak, an investigation has found the National Institute of Health, under Dr. Fauci's leadership, infected 12 Egyptian fruit bats. Oh, Egyptian bats, huh? With a SARS-like virus called WIV1. That's Wuhan Institute of Virology 1. That's what that stands for. In Montana in 2018, just 15 minutes away from the Maryland presidential retreat in Camp David. Yet, that line doesn't make any sense. Anyway, the Wuhan Institute of Virology 1 coronavirus was shipped from the Wuhan lab, the FBI believes, caused the COVID pandemic and was tested on bats acquired from a roadside Maryland zoo. That's what they must mean about Camp David. But the research is more evidence of the ties between the U.S. government and the Wuhan lab, as well as funding dangerous virus research across the globe. So, what does this mean? Well, what it means is that they created COVID in a lab. They did it with a doctor named Xi Zhenli, who is the coronavirus expert. Like, Xi Zhenli is a virologist who specializes in going up and harvesting bats from their natural environments in high caves in the easternmost rural parts of China. These bats are the natural repositories of coronavirus in nature. Coronaviruses do exist naturally in nature, but they are harmless to you. Why? Well, one, because the repositories of coronavirus in nature exist high up in caves and do not interact with human beings often at all. Two, because those coronaviruses, they do not make the bats sick. We're not sure why, but they also do not have a very specific type of protein that would be required. This is called a spike protein. It enters the human cell and infect us. The spike protein had to be added. It had to be gene therapy snipped into a coronavirus. So you isolate a bat coronavirus, bring the bats in, you isolate the bat coronavirus, and then you add a human spike protein, and then that coronavirus has, theoretically, the capacity to infect human beings. That is the only way, biologically, the only way that this pandemic could have started. Period. Now, the vast majority of government intelligence agencies will say that Dr. Fauci funded research to do this exact thing to coronaviruses. He paid millions of dollars to the Wuhan Institute of Virology to do this research. We know the doctors. We know who they are. We know what they were doing. All this information is public. More importantly, this is being really demonstrable. The Chinese themselves, before this became a weaponized political nuclear football, the Chinese themselves did the research and sent investigators to this lab to go and interview the lab techs. Before this was scrubbed entirely from the internet, incredible documents that have been preserved, but the Chinese scientists that were sent there said, oh, they were doing shoddy experimentation on very dangerous stuff, adding spike proteins to lab particles, and they got infected by their own work. They got infected by their own work. They were sloppy. This lab should be shut down. They were doing stuff that could be considered illegal. This was funded by America, and this needs to be all shut down. Now, what happened is students signed.
Oh, I just hit 100. I just hit 100 right before this shit fucking stopped. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Shit, bro.
Yeah, fucking hell yeah, that's right. That's right, boys and girls.
Fucking nutsack.
Fucking smoking all you kids. Hey, while you're at it, vote Donald Trump, bitch. While you're at it. Save the Republic.
Virology lab.
We're already at World War III. Like, come on now.
The only way that the pandemic could have started, they created a mutant molecule.
Not bad.